Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the 15th audio chat on the Q News Patriot Rumble channel. I'm the Q News Patriot, coming to you again. My name is SG Anon. I have with us today Dr. Sandra Rose Michael. For those of you out there that have been with the Awakening movement for a little while, you're undoubtedly aware of Dr. Sandra's work with the EESystem, quantum crystalline technology, and how the spiritual matrix, the field, right, the infinite potential that we all live and walk through every single day and that we enjoy our life journey through, how it actually is here to rejuvenate us, to revitalize us, and how that has been sort of obfuscated and taken away. Dr. Sandra has a long history in these sorts of theoretical concepts and in the quantum physicist arena. And I wish I could talk with some, acumen about some of the topics that we're going to bring her on today to do so, but I just can't do it justice. And so I thought with that, I would bring her out to each of you. So Dr. Sandra, thank you very much for coming on the program. It's good to have you here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me on. And we have enjoyed such great conversations and really appreciate all the tremendous work you have done in delivering, the intel and really doing the deep research and, for bringing forward the knowledge that you've been able to share in this great awakening that cannot and will not be stopped. And that's why we're here. We're on a mission from God and just want to share truth because that's what sets us all free. But we're here, at this time on this planet on purpose to be able to fulfill all of our highest purposes, never showing up here. Magnificent time on this planet. There's a new video came out this last week or something, the greatest show on earth. Wouldn't miss it for anything.
That's fantastic, and I appreciate it, and I'm honored to have you on. For those folks out there that don't know, you've been exposed to sort of the next level technologies for a while, and just the general physicist space. If I remember correctly, you said that your I think it was parents or maybe someone within your family line were actually nuclear engineers. I thought I would sort of turn it over to you and maybe just have you tell the audience a little bit about your background and how you ended up on the topic matter that you've now sort of carved a name out for and are opening system centers around the world with. Where did all of that come from? Who is Dr. Sandra Michael?
Yeah, people want to know where it all started. Well, this life, it started when my parents met in engineering physics. My mother, the nuclear physicist, and my dad, the aeronautical, electrical, mechanical, structural engineer, both of them hyper genius. My mother, nuclear physicist, they met in engineering physics at Ohio State University. And where it all started was at Tesla's power plant when they went on their honeymoon to Niagara Falls. Because where would two nerdy scientists in 1952 go for their honeymoon, but to go to that Tesla power plant at Niagara Falls and really, be following up that research. So that's where it began for me. That's where I was conceived. So then I grew up doing all of Tesla's experiments and things. I came in with also the memories from past lives. My mother was fissioning plutonium in the lab, Battelle Labs to be specific, fissioning plutonium, working on the bomb the whole time she was pregnant with me. And then my dad did stealth bombers, worked on Mach 3, all that kind of stuff. And I did all the, everything growing up for me was a science experiment. And I did all the top secret experiments, levitating things and magnets and transducers and receivers and all of, Tesla coils and all that. But I came in going, how do we heal all of this? My whole agenda is how do we bring healing to the world? And that's been my life and my focus. And so I've been teaching holistic health over 45 years. And I started in 1971, chiropractic, reflexology, nutrition, Ayurveda, all that kind of research and studied radionics and trained in radionics and acupressure, acupuncture, but also Rife's work and biophotonics. But really as a hands-on healer with the chiropractic, etc., the power that made the body heals the body. And so I've been teaching holistic health every which way for over 45 years, more than 45 years. But I built my first scalar healing light chamber myself in my spa in 1978. So I've been at it for a while, and then doing the work, bringing the healing, all talking about the importance of our DNA being our God code, and bringing forward all this research and all this work, and of course working with lots of top scientists, Dr. Fred Bell being one of them. Maybe people may or may not know him. Look him up, Dr. Fred Bell. He was one of my close friends for almost a couple decades, I guess, but he had a very similar background to me as far as in the science side, because his uncle was Alexander Graham Bell, and he was in the labs, from the time he was 8, just like I was doing all the top secret experiments and stuff. So very, very similar. And Mensa, I grew up doing all of them, the Mensa training. And, so in that top 1% of IQs, so we function a little differently with our brains. So, but it worked with him. And he also did a lot of research because he was a nuclear physicist with NASA from the time he was 16, and was a protege of Werner von Braun and that kind of thing. And here I'm going, how do we take all this wisdom, all this knowledge for the healing of humanity, to bring, to bring that to the planet? And he was also, we can talk more about this now with things coming out, because, he was a top secret government scientist, but he was a Pleiadian contactee. So very, very aware of all the extraterrestrial stuff with the government, and his own sightings and his own contacts and things, because, so that was part of that background with him. So going along, I started this technology as far as the actual implementation of the, what's become the EESystem, which is the energy enhancement system, all along these formats of how do we give the body what it needs to heal, because the power that made the body heals the body. So how do we plug the body back into the cosmic light socket, universal unlimited power on? How do we activate the light within us, the light at the core of our DNA? And all of my research had been about that spiraling into the double helix of the DNA, understanding scalar is an infinity wave, or an infinitely projected Mobius, an infinity wave. So that's the easiest way to understand it. And that energetic allows us spiraling into the double helix of the DNA to release anything that's not of the core essence, because the core of our DNA is the light from the stars. We are stardust. And so this is about how do we activate that light within us for total remembrance of who we are, all that we're here for, because the DNA is our God code. And so how do you, I was in meditation. I was asked to create, being considered one of the top healers on the planet, and dealing with the body as consciousness. I was meditating, and I was asked to create this technology to bring it forward, because I was asking a really good question. We're born for this time. You could tell that the background that I had, but coming in very, very spiritual. I came in with my memories of past lives, and from the time I could talk, I was talking about Atlantis and the mad Atlantean scientists and their abuse of power. And I was, still upset about them. And because that's the most parallel time to where we are now. It's the same stuff, all the same stuff, the abuse of scalar weaponry, mind control, the chimeras, the hijacking of the DNA, for all the same mad Atlantean scientists. So I've come in to try to, how do we take technology to create the counterpoint to heal all of it? Like I said, I came in going, how do we bring healing to the world? How do we heal all of this? And so it's been a process of, so in that bloodline of Martin Luther, again, that DNA, that lineage stuff. And the gift of that was reading that Bible 6 times cover to cover by the time I was 12, and going into it so deeply spiritually, but also studying all the entomological, researching what all the translations, what they really said and what they meant. And really doing that research. But some of the basics of that, there are some spiritual laws. Ask and you shall receive is one spiritual law that I like to really share with people and remind people that we're good enough to ask and good enough to receive. Ask and you shall receive. And so the clearer your questions, the clearer your answers. And that thing of be still and know was really a commandment too. Shut up and listen, if you want to put it in our American English here. Be still and know, ask your questions and then listen and let yourself know what God wants you to know. And because we have access to the infinite intelligence. We've heard that we have access to unlimited power, infinite intelligence, unconditional love. Everybody's heard that, right? That's what all the religions have taught, and all the great spiritual teachers have taught. We have access to unlimited power, infinite intelligence, unconditional love. So what's the problem? We joke about it, but we have to stop just sitting on our access. And it's time to access that power and allow the power to rise up from within us so that we stand in our power, in our light, and in our love always, knowing all that we stand for on this planet in this time now with that sort of truth. Or we can talk about Patriots Street Fighter and take up that tomahawk of truth to cut through all the BS, because it is the truth that sets us free. But the healing of that, is us to bring forward. I started in the early 90s, 1992 or so, really working on this intently, but built my first full scalar healing, full installation in 1996. But it's about how do we plug the body back into that cosmic light socket? Because when the body has all the energy, it wants to heal and repair anything and everything. But some of the specific was to create the technology to be able to bring the DNA back to its original divine matrix, original divine design. Because we have designer genes. It's a very high design, and we're made in that likeness and lightness of God, really. So it's about that remembrance that we are sons and daughters of God, and we have the technology to counter all the abuse of power, to create a countering, to override all the, HARP and the different scalar weaponry, and override it all with a higher power. And that's our true power. It's the power of love, because God is love. So and the cells then vibrate and resonate with the power of truth. And it's about creating that alignment and that wave of infinite energetics that are actually within us and in our DNA, so that we can remember that full truth of who we are, all that we are, all that we have access to, all that we're here for, and how highly we are connected, and we are highly connected always. And it's been always about, we have to be the greater community now. We have to come together on this planet. And that's very, very important to override all the lower frequencies, such as the damaging fields of 5G and cell phones and Wi-Fi. These are all detrimental, destructive fields for the body. They unzip the DNA. They break those bonds in the DNA. It unzips the DNA, shortens the telomeres. Well, unified fields puts the DNA back into its original form, its original divine matrix, that unified field effect. And then the way we work with it, it's a fusion technology, and the active hydrogen then can repair the active covalent hydrogen bonds in the DNA. And the actual research with our technology from the beginning has been how it could repair. And this was actually found when NASA was researching the effects of our DNA, of our technology on the DNA, and found that it was repairing all the genetic damage and lengthening the telomeres. And so it's true age reversal, but it's bringing it back to its original divine design of how we were designed to be before we were bombarded 24/7 with EMF, ELF, radiation, microwaves, and all the toxicity in the air, the water, the food, all this toxicity, because our light force is so strong. We just want to, turn the lights back on at the cellular level, at the DNA level, because as we then radiate light as pure beings of light, nothing that is not of that light can affect us. So it overrides all lower energetics or lower frequencies with a higher power. And that's the power of our love.
For the listener out there, I don't think you're going to get a more thorough answer and a better description about where the EESystem technology came from and who Dr. Sandra Rose Michael is. And Doc, I really appreciate you being that thorough, because it sets us up to go in a lot of different directions. As a matter of fact, we could go a number of directions from that. I think the direction I'm curious to go to is, when we talk about these things like quantum, excuse me, some programs call it the spiritual field. Other people call it the field of potentiality. I call it the field of the Holy Spirit, quantum consciousness, or the quantum singularity, the intelligence that is one in all things, right? God. When we talk about that and we talk about plugging back into that at a physiological level, it's been put to me, and I'm curious your opinion on this, that the human body itself, the human electrocellular matrix itself, in its organic matter and its energetic matter, is sort of a 0-point junction between the limitless energy of the spirit that creates worlds and the momentary reality that we have right here, right now in front of us. And it's that connection that we can leverage. When we talk about quantum wellness, or we talk about the EESystem and the ability to create a field that is free of harmful, damaging waves, wavelengths and radiations, and encouraging the body back into its natural, balanced, homeostatic state as a spiritual and organic spacesuit, if we can call it that, what does that process look like to you in layman's terms?
What does that process look like? Well, that's why I created the technology, and it is that field, energetic field. It's what if you could have your body in that ideal, optimal, energetic field where you're totally supported in the real truth of who you are, to live your greatest life, your greatest love, your highest purpose, no excuses. So, which is what the body wants to do. It carries, we're made in the image and likeness of God, and we're sons and daughters of God. And Christ said we could do everything he did and more. He said we could move mountains with a mustard seed of faith. Well, we're not limited to moving mountains. We got a whole planet that's a very deep shift, but we came in with this, I know I came in with the specific intentionality of how do we create heaven on earth, a new heaven and a new earth through us, and this is the timing, the second coming. It's all from within us. The kingdom of heaven is within. So how do we really tap into that power and that remembrance of who we really are as eternal beings? where there is no such thing as death, really. That's a total illusion, in that we are eternal, divine beings, and divine beings of light. So, and then using that truth to bring healing is all about remembrance of who we are, and activating that light within us. So I created technology to do that. It's very high tech. You go
It
very
sort of stimulates the cells into remembrance of their own identity. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, because the cells vibrate and resonate with the power of truth. And it's the truth that sets us free. And unlimited, infinite, powerful beings, sons and daughters of God, are out of control. You can't control us if we not remember who we are. It's pretty simple. If we have access to unlimited power, infinite intelligence, unconditional love, what's the problem? It's simply a matter of remembering the access. And so this is about the access codes. And our technology kind of looks like, I know you had your own experiences with your own healing, and we can talk about that. But, it's like activating those access codes. It looks like the technology looks like 12 strands of DNA on the screen, because it's designed to interface with the DNA, and designed intentionally to bring the DNA to its highest potential. And that is our God code. So bring it to the highest potential, literally activating the light at the core of the DNA. And then we're doing that. So scalar was one important aspect of it, but it's also photonics. Photons are your quantums of light, but we're not just having photons. Either we're colliding photons and creating what's called a photonic fusion event. It's a fusion technology. But in the meantime, it's like one of the easiest ways for people to understand it or to grok it is, it's kind of like, what if Star Trek, Star Wars, and the Matrix got together and had a baby?
That's an incredible way to put it, because I think a lot of us out there at this point along the way in the journey, especially in the Patriot community, are aware that The Matrix was a documentary, and Star Wars and Star Trek both sort of displayed known technological capabilities at that time by a number of different actors, both what we would call terrestrial, humanoid in origin, and others. Um, I want to shift gears a little bit here and talk about I want to draw a comparison actually with this technology and this thing that people call the medbed technology that's out there. I think all of us are well aware that it is almost without question the military mercenary industrial complex that has been in control around the world for a long time has lots of next level, next generation technology that spans the gamut from healthcare to weaponry to radio frequency defense systems and more. And some of that does include healing technology, but that's caused a lot of the Patriot community in this process, along in this awakening journey, to sort of become a bit complacent, or maybe more hopeful and patient, more than driven to some sort of actual action, because we sort of have been waiting for, I think, the realization to set in that these sorts of things are becoming available in the public space, that next generation technology, as far as healthcare, as far as the ability to achieve, a homeostatic wellness, next generation technology to purge things out of the body, right? And different ancient remedies, quite frankly, that have come back around and are being used in the herbaceous space and others. When we talk about what you've got with the EESystem, it's not exactly something that you could call a med bed per se, but it seems to me that the functionality is essentially the same. It's the creation of a interference free and harmful radiation free field that encourages the body to do what the body does naturally on its own. And all versions, I think, of what you could call medbed or quantum based or scalar based light wave healing technology function around that same basic premise. Is that true?
That's absolutely correct. And anything and everything they've talked about with the med beds, we've been doing and seeing since 1996, when we created our first full version of this technology. So we have seen anything and everything completely heal. And we're very, very blessed that way. We love miracles. It's what I live for. Of course, we cannot make any medical claims, and we're not doing that. The power that made the body heals the body when the body has the right energy, the right information. And the DNA is biophotonic. That's why it's so important to have the photonic aspect to activate the light in the core of the DNA, because the DNA is biophotonic. So you want a hyper healthy, energetic environment where the body is fully supported. And in that environment, the body's own healing mechanisms are, is what will create healing. And it can be very rapid, although it's not like instant either. It takes the body time, a little bit of time to catch up. It's not like people got to where they got overnight. We've been poisoned so systemically for so long on this planet. And it takes a little time for the body to take and use the energy. But how our technology came out, you met Jason Shirka, of course, when we were at, when you've done programs with them too. Jason Shirka with TLS, the light system, was sent to come interview me. And you met him at Scott McKay's grand opening, of course, in Dallas with his Taj Mahal of healing. But when Jason Shirka was sent to interview me, the interview came out May 27th, and it was called The Revolution of Healing, moving beyond medbed technology. Now, why do we say it's beyond medbed technology? Well, we see anything and everything that medbed technology would be doing, but it's not one person at a time. It's not operator dependent, practitioner dependent, one person at a time. I wanted to know, how do we bring healing to the whole planet and to the whole world? And so it's generating these fields that create healthy community. It's like earth acupuncture. It's feeding the grids within the planet, around the planet, to make it to work with the healing of the planet. But it's also not one person at a time. Nothing touches the body. It's like it's like having a wireless cell phone charger, but you're charging every cell of the body. And it's like a wireless every cell of the body, and trying to bring it up to its original potential. It's called the cell membrane potential. We're meant to be at 70 to 90 millivoltage as far as our cellular millivoltage when healthy. Cancer can't exist till that's below 20. And everything's been taking our energy, constant compensation for imbalance in the body, trying to cope with a hostile environment, has taken so much of our life force energy that we didn't have enough energy left for that quantum healing and for living in that state of hyper health. So this is creating a hyper healthy energetic environment where the more you relax, the more the body can take and use the energy. We'll go back to kind of that analogy of the cell phone. And if you're still talking on the cell phone, it doesn't charge as efficiently as if you put it down and like reboot, put it in sleep mode. It can use and internalize the energy, defrag, kind of like rebooting a computer, defrag, but it defrags and creates coherence. And that superluminal velocity creates that superconductivity in the body, and where the energy flows through every fiber and tissue of our being to be charged up. And we activate that light within us. When the body has that charge, then it can discharge everything that does not belong. And so one of the biggest things for health is detox, detox, detox. But the body hasn't had enough energy, to clear and clear things efficiently. So the first thing the body does when it has more energy is it wants to push out anything and everything that doesn't belong, clean house, detox. So detoxification is critical, and the body's going to be trying to release all that toxicity of the heavy metals, the radiolytic isotopes, because we've been so damaged by radiation. I mean, everybody is dealing with extreme radiation poisoning on the planet. A lot of the symptoms of the, what you could call the COVID thing, a lot of the symptoms were simply symptoms of radiation poisoning, of course. And of course, we love Dr. Artis's work. But we have everything to heal and fix and cure everything, really, because that is the way God works. So, so we're here. You want to use everything, but you want to support the body in the detox. So by drinking a lot of water, a lot of dis-ease was from acute chronic dehydration. Well, this reduces the surface tension of water. The actual research is the actual lab research is a 28% reduction in surface tension of water. Well, that explains a lot of the hydration and healing in the body, but also the microcirculation, where, and you can look at the blood, where after being in an EESystem in 1 hour, and we've done lots and lots of this research, the blood is fully oxygenated and free flowing. So there's no clotting, but fully oxygenated, which is a big key for healing and bringing oxygen, where the blood can actually bring the oxygen to all the organs and tissues of the body. So we hear vision improvement. It's one of the first things we hear all the time, but with the detox, the body has the energy now to heal itself. But that detox is also critical because in that the skin is our largest organ of elimination. So for the world's easiest detox, you charge up in an EESystem, take a power nap. I recommend at least a 2-hour nap to give the body time to use the energy to repair, rejuvenate, regenerate from the inside out. But then the body is taking that energy and it wants to push the toxins out of every nook and cranny you can get it out of. So the world's easiest detox then is to get in a salt bath. 2 cups of salt is the minimum. Salt, not Epsom salts, because that's magnesium sulfate. You want the salt of the earth thing, the salt that they've tried to demonize in different ways, because our bodies require good salt with the minerals for proper function. And the body's like a battery. So this works with the charge in the batteries. And if you get into 2 cups of salt, sea salt, it could be kosher salt, Himalayan salt, Celtic salt, some sort of good salt, real salt from Utah, Hawaiian salt, 2 cups of salt. The salt will, if you get in a hot tub, you open up the pores, open up the capillaries. It's also called hyperthermia, where you're raising the body's temperature. That kicks the immune system up, but you're opening up the pores, the capillaries, where the salt then can pull the toxins that the body's trying to push out and discharge from every nook and cranny it can get it out of. And our largest organ of elimination is our skin. It's the 3rd kidneys. And this is part of what, part of the original old science. I mean, that's been lost and forgotten, because nothing does what a bath does. But you want the 2 cups of salt. I'm actually recommending 2 cups of salt, 2 cups of baking soda, because that's your bath for pulling radiation. 2 cups salt, 2 cups of baking soda. And I'm recommending 1 cup of borax. 20-multene borax, that old, it's been around over 100 years. We grew up with it. 20-multene borax, because it's such a powerful detoxer for fluoride. It's such a powerful detoxer for pulling out the fluoride and stuff, but also alkalinizing the body. But it also is very, very useful for neutralizing a lot of these synthetic biologies. Now that the spike proteins, these snake venom, synthetic snake venom stuff, this graphene oxide, these nanobots, these are all synthetic biologies. Lyme's disease, that's another one that people might be more familiar with. We've seen amazing, amazing turnarounds for people, healing anything and everything, from stage 4, whatever. The body wants to heal. So, but the bath is like critical to that. And so the importance of the detox bath, I'm going to explain. The heavy metals are behind a lot of the problems that people have. Well, we had somebody that was a master metal worker. The first 6 baths that he did with using our technology, he'd get in our system for 2 hours. He's bringing his wife, who was reversing her issues with cancer, and did extremely well. But he said the first 6 baths that he did, the water turned the color of steel. And then he felt in the bottom of the tub, and he said it felt like steel shavings in the bottom of the tub. So he got a big magnet, and sure enough, it picked it up. That's how much the body, when it has the energy, wants to discharge everything that doesn't belong. So that's your heavy metals, it's your aluminum, it's your mercury, but it's also your radiolytic isotopes, your plutonium and things like that. But it's also, people have done that bath and then taken a black light to it and been able to see these bioluminescent, luciferase, but the bioluminescent parasites. You look at the water under a black light and you can see them moving and glowing. So the detox bath is a critical component, rather than, just waiting for the med bed to fix you and you'd be back to whatever. No, we also have accountability for working with the energy. It's up to us what we do and where we go with the energy. We want to use the energy for healing and work with supporting the body in doing what it wants to do, which is detox. And then also using the energy to turn up the volume on your own inner knowing, so that synchronizes right in the brain to trigger your genius. But we want to give people the energy to make healthier, more intelligent, more informed choices, and to be able to stand up in our power, in our light, in our love, and be that power, walk the planet as the fully realized God, goddess beings of light, as those pillars in the temple of God. I like to see the spinal column, like that full column of light. Scalar by definition is nonlinear, non-Hertzian, 5th dimensional standing column waves beyond relative time and space. It's an infinity wave. It's an eternal state. So to speak, it's multidimensional. So it triggers our multidimensional being, but our spinal column is meant to be that pure column of light where we stand in our power. We are like pillars in the temple of God. This is biblical. We're pillars in the temple of God. When we stand together, God wins. The big thing now is unified fields. It's all been divide and conquer. We've got to come together. We've got to be the greater community. It's all been about creating this dissociative states and separation and polarities, the polarization. We need to come together and be that greater community. That's where our power is, in our own sacred communion of being that body of Christ, being that body of light, being the pillars in the temple of God. Because when we stand together, God wins, period. That is our power. That is our power. And awareness is power. And love is our superpower. So, because God is love. And so I created this technology, as that resonance of alignment with true best and highest, our highest potential, our greatest life, our greatest love. And it's like, breathing more light, more love with every breath. This is the exercise. I remember I sent you a little meditation for during this little timing of 10-4 today with this emergency broadcast system. And, SG, we sent you a little meditation thing. We encouraged everybody to combine unified intentionality, because if they can broadcast energies that are not beneficial to us, guess what? We can broadcast light, because as we radiate that light, nothing that is not of the light can affect us. And we are the combined unified presence that heals the world. Unified healing. Unified healing. So healing means wholeness and our holiness, and this remembering the sacredness of who we really are and why we're here, and to live that greatest light and life as God originally intended. In the beginning, God breathed the breath of life into man. After that, it's up to us to breathe and reconnect to that eternal source of all light and life and love, and be that, to embody that, to be that fully. No more excuses. So this was a divine opportunity with this emergency broadcast that we could broadcast what we want and come together. So we have over 340 centers. And so people were using this meditation of breathing light and breathing love and radiating light and all our love, feeling so much of God's love. We're breathing all God's love into ourselves and into our cells so that we can allow that light. We feel so much light within ourselves and love that allows the whole universe, the whole planet, to feel the power of the presence of the love of our being, and allowing that light to radiate out, to touch the hearts of all beings, to feel more love. So in more light, more love with every breath, because that's how we expand our capacities for love. To live fully, we've got to breathe fully. That's that sacred breath of life that was referred to in the beginning. So what a divine opportunity we've had today, haven't we, SG? You want to talk a little bit about that
Well, what's
emergency
amazing,
broadcast?
yeah, what's amazing is, it was absolutely, I think, today an opportunity for the Patriot community at large. And there's a reason I didn't necessarily take a for or against stance with it, because it really is the opportunity for everyone to exercise what intuition and love is telling them, what God and this, the spirit that sustains all things is telling them, and advising them to do in the moment. And that's a major portion of this journey, is coming back to the ability to reconnect with, I think you used the term plug back into, a much more conscious experience of what that process is like, right? We get glimpses of it. Excuse me, we remember our childhoods vividly because we existed in a state of such agreement with the Holy Spirit and our life that we were living at the time. And as we have gotten older and become adults and reasoning, rational people, and then thrown into a system that was sort of by its own face, on its face, designed for suffering, decay, and destruction, we sort of find ourselves over time coaxed out of that same agreement that we have. And so we have such fond memory of feeling so elated and exhilarated and inspired and excited all the time when we were very young, or when we were in our adolescent years, or our very early years out into the world. And life, I feel like, maybe without the exuberation, but replace that with wisdom over time, life is still supposed to be fun and excited and vital and invigorating, and I think in a lot of ways joyful, not without its difficulties, right? But there is supposed to be a balance, I think, and we've lived for millennia here in this world with a chronic spiritual imbalance, and this is a balancing time of that. And technologies like the EESystem are sort of the physical, real world, race cars that we can get into to drive around that track, right? To get the mileage on the human spirit, if you will, get the experience out there, and trial run, if you want to call it that, right, as a civilization, as a species, out into the world, so that we can build out what amounts to, I think, the greatest leap of consciousness that is going to be here in the world for many hundreds and possibly thousands of years. There's not going to be a time again like this where humanity will awaken to such stark contrasting realities, averse from expectation and accepted norms, right? This is never going to happen again, because now that it has happened, we will, and we already are, establishing infrastructures and redesigning our societies right down to the community level to force much greater transparency and accountability. And also, I think coming with that is the rollout, or coming on the heels of that, I should say, is the rollout out into the business space, where you see a lot of quantum scalar based healing centers and light wave based healing centers, or wellness centers, right? Maybe we could call them wellness and rejuvenation centers, out there within North America and the world. And I kind of want to talk about that, Doc, as we close off here today, if you don't mind. You have a number of facilities around the world that utilize your technology. Some of them you have more of a direct influence in how they do things than others. But regardless, the technology itself is rolled out and is a worldwide phenomenon at this point. What does that look like? And if people say are located in the United States and the Great Plains or the West or the East Coasts, where can they go to intersect with these centers?
Oh gosh, they're all literally all around the world. And initially, the question was, how do we create that quantum leap of consciousness? The great awakening that will not be stopped. How do we bring healing to the whole world? Because this planet's in very, very deep shift. So now the shift has hit the fan. But initially, with rolling it out, it was like laying the foundations. It had to be primarily in private homes. And so up until Jason's thing, we had 20 some centers around the world, when Jason Shurka interviewed me and we did that revolution of healing, moving beyond medbed technology. If people haven't seen that interview, please see it, because when that went out, in 24 hours, we had 70,000 emails. Talk about a planet being ready for the shift of quantum healing. It was really incredible. But before that, we were laying the foundations, doing the homework, doing the research. We have clinical trials. And if you go to our research page, you have peer-reviewed published studies, University of Hawaii Med School for 18 years, reversals of autism, things like that. Actually, what was published is mitigation of seizure disorder, but it was a case of autism. And you can read the research. We've been doing the homework, doing the studies, because they said initially it had to be primarily in private homes, so it couldn't be stopped. And that when it went out, and I was told this the entire time, when ask and you shall receive. You'll get your answers from God. Know that you're good enough to listen, good enough to ask, and good enough to get the answers. And then be still and know is listen. So I got the answers, but it was like, when it's time, it has to be everywhere fast. When it's time, it has to be everywhere fast, so it can't be stopped. So that's what the agreement with Jason stepping forward with TLS was, that stage of everywhere fast. And so since May 27th of 2022, so it's only a little over a year, we have close to 400 centers around the world. So the people
Remarkable.
can go to EESystem.com. And it's generating fields. It's a field technology. Each and every system that goes in expands the fields exponentially. I was asked to create the counterpoint to all the abuse of Tesla's work, all the abuse of scalar weaponry and all these things. So somebody had to do the counterpoint, because we're being bombarded 24/7. If you're not using this technology, it's like you're living in a microwave. Everybody's being fried. That unzipping of our DNA and the ionization of the brain and things like that. All the symptoms of the unzipping of the DNA. So creating the counterpoint, and so when it goes out, it has to be everywhere fast, so it cannot be stopped. It has been, the shift really hit the fan for us. We had nothing in place to handle 70,000 emails in a weekend. But now you can go to EESystem.com and you can find the location nearest you on there. But I also recommend that you go to unifiedhealing.com, UNIFYD, unifiedhealing.com. And of course, divided we fail, united we fly is part of what Jason Shurka puts out. But we have to be the combined unified presence that can heal the world. We have to come together. So unified, it's all about, unified fields and coming together. But if you go to unifiedhealing.com, people can also put in their testimonials, and you can read testimonials literally from around the world. The miracle stories. I mean, one of his recent ones came out. I think I sent it to you, SG. I called it 3 Blind Eyes, where in the first 3 weeks of having the center open, they had 3 blind eyes that could see again. We love miracles. Remember, Christ said everything he did and more were to do. Well, the blind seeing, the lame walking, the deaf hearing. We have all of that, all of that every day. Miracles 24/7 from around the world. But 3 blind eyes. One had been blind for 5 years. Another one had been 30 years, and I forget what the third one was. But we love miracles. So see the miracle stories. Another one is from a doctor, MD, in Central Park area of New York City, Manhattan. So you can go to unifiedhealing.com, watch the miracle stories, see the testimonials, but you can also put in whatever your consideration or issue or might be, whatever that might be, and see what other people have experienced with dealing with those issues and things like that. That you want to support the process also by making more intelligent, more informed choices. As far as, every dollar is a vote. What are we voting for? Quit paying to poison yourself. It's like you've been paying to give yourself your own diseases. You got to make more intelligent, more informed, healthier choices. Support organic, support local. Otherwise, you're just paying for poisons, and then it can become addiction to abuse. And so you want to eat how God made food. There's a divine design to these bodies and how they were designed to be nourished. And that's like, real food. So you want to make healthier choices, but quit paying for those poisons. Quit paying those companies that have, been just poisoning the planet. So every dollar is a vote. What have you been voting for? You have accountability. So I give people the energy to change their mind, to change their diet, to change their relationships, their life, their communities, and the whole world. I'm born on Constitution Day too. Yeah, I just turned 70, but born on Constitution Day. We're born for this time. We, the people, want our planet back. And we, the grandmothers, we, the people, want our country back. We, the grandmothers, want our planet back. How's that? But it's we've got to step up also, because we are the natural healers, to bring healing to the world and say enough is enough. Enough is enough of things that have gone on. Some of it is just about us. Do not comply. Stand up. Use the voice. If we don't use our voices, we won't have one. This was the censorship. What happened to that First Amendment? The Constitution is very, very, very important, as you know. So anyway, so what do you have to say, SG? Wasn't it fun doing that grand opening for Dot McKay?
Well, it was a good time down there, and Terra Quantum is one of a number of different places around the nation that people out there can go to. Doc, that actually leads me to the last question, and then I'm going to close it out here for us today. I've really appreciated your time. If people are wanting to get in touch with your work, either to find an EESystem that's nearest to them, or to financially support the work, or even to look into becoming a proprietor of the system itself, where would they go, and how would that process look for those patriots out there that may be able to do that?
Okay. Of course, EESystem.com, they can contact the EESystem office through that. There's also a phone number. We're based in Vegas. We've stepped up all the manufacturing, assembly, installation teams all over the world to roll this out as fast as possible. They always said it had to be everywhere fast, because this was how we bring healing to the world, because we have everything to heal and fix and cure everything. So that number is 702-213-7435, or they can email support@eesystem.com. unifiedhealing.com. I recommend people go there for sure. And we talked about Scott McKay, Patriots street fighter in Dallas. He's got that new center. He calls the Taj Mahal of healing. It's absolutely fabulous. His website for there is TerraQuantumRecharge.com. Beautiful center, less than about 10 minutes away from the Dallas Fort Worth airport. People want to go visit him there, visit that center. He's got Dr. Rick Guerrero there, who's fabulous also. So people can reach out to us. I'm also on Facebook, EESystem on Facebook, and Sandra Rose Michael on Facebook. That's where I put most of the updates and stuff that we try to stay in touch with people. But we're trying to be everywhere fast, and so it's a lot. We've been really, really, really busy, but we've waited a long time for this time. It's fulfillment of prophecy. Fulfillment of prophecy. We're in the time of, I like to talk about, we're here to fulfill all the prayers, all the promises, and all the prophecies of all who have gone before us. It's time to call forth all the wisdom of the ancestors, all the way back to source, all the way back to God. And that's called forward all the wisdom. It's all within our DNA and our cellular memory, and live the fullest and highest, greatest potential, our greatest life, our greatest love here on earth, as it is in heaven, through us now. Let's go. We've waited a long time for this time on the planet. You want to be the fulfillment of those prophecies, of everything Christ taught us, all that, and live it to the fullest and speak it. Because the more we speak truth, the more the cells vibrate and resonate with truth. If people hold back out of fear of persecution or prosecution, fear of persecution, fear of prosecution is how they kept us enslaved. You have to understand, fear and God cannot share the same space. And if you hold back out of fear of persecution, fear of what somebody's going to think of you, or what somebody's going to say, or whether they're going to judge you, if you hold back out of fear, the more others hold back out of fear. The more each and every one of us stand up and speak truth, the more everybody can stand up and speak truth. And that's what sets us all free. And, we're here for that.
Amazing. I'm actually going to use that, I think, as our close off for today, because that is what sets us all free, a unification of we the people in the identity of who we really are. It's been something that they've waged war on us for thousands of years, folks. You can go look it up, everything back to the Egyptian days and even the days of old before that, poisonings, any sort of plant that they could weaponize or concentrate against us, anything from the earth that they could put against us. And why would they invest so much time and energy doing so? It's because of who we are. It's because of what we're capable of. It's because of what sustains us and what is encoded within us, and what provides life and vitality to this body that we all have. Some of us out there with bodies as young as 19 or 20, maybe on a broadcast like this, and others out there into their 80s or their 90s, and hopefully feeling like they're 18 or 19. That's the point of this process, and I don't think a better close off could be said. It's amazing what we're returning to. This is not anything new, folks. This is a return to who we really are. Dr. Sandra, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your time very much today. I look forward to having you back sometime. And for the listeners out there, everyone, this is SG Anon. I hope you've enjoyed our discussion today. I'll be back with everyone again soon on the Q News Patriot. Thanks. Bye-bye.